real reason Switzerland is so rich. From being a small, almost forgotten landlocked region to becoming one of the wealthiest countries in the world in less than 2 centuries, we are forced to ask 2 questions. What is the magic behind Switzerland's abundance of wealth, and who exactly created this magic? Let's put this into better perspective. About 150 years ago, Switzerland was inarguably poor, an agrarian society that doesn't compare to the riches and economic development its neighbouring countries like Italy, Portugal and Spain boasted of. But today, in 2023, the Swiss have comfortably become the wealthiest population, with an average wealth per person of at least $696,000. Of course, so much can happen within 150 years, but what is sure is that Switzerland did many things right, politically, socially, and most notably, their contributions during the war. So yeah, what precisely did the Swiss do right? In this video, we have taken a look into why Switzerland is so rich and why its economy continues to grow stronger despite withdrawing from the European Union. Make sure to watch this video to the end so you don't miss out on the darker reasons for the Swiss wealth. Let's dive right into it. First, let's take a look at Switzerland's transparency and competitive taxation. We understand that Switzerland is not a tax haven. However, it enjoys a lower and more attractive taxation system than other Western economies. Really? Is there anything like a tax haven? The truth is, tax havens are mere propaganda popular amongst Western politicians entitled to exploiting their workers and entrepreneurs until they bleed dry. However, this is not the case in Switzerland. Here, the main VAT rate is 7.7% compared to Spain's 21% and Germany's 19%. The personal income tax rates in Switzerland also primarily depend on where you live in Switzerland. Of course, it's also significantly lower, with most taxpayers paying between 15 and 25% as income tax, which is at least 5% lower than what their neighbouring countries' taxpayers are paying. Do you know the most exciting part of Switzerland's transparent taxation system? Despite paying much lower tax rates, Switzerland has a tax burden of just 27.7% of its GDP. This makes more sense when you realise that Spain's tax burden is 37.3%, Portugal is 35.8%, Italy is 43%, France 48%, and even the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development pegged the average at 34.1%. A tax burden far lower than the average directly reflects how better developed the economy of Switzerland is. This is possible thanks to the country's minimal reliance on imports despite having limited natural resources. So yeah, we can safely attribute Switzerland's wealth to the high value-added industries strategically scattered around the country. Reason number 2. High value-added industries. Switzerland is popular for its financial industry, an aspect we will discuss much later in this video. But a closer look reveals that the country is much more than finance. It dominates several other high value-added sectors, including but not limited to pharmaceuticals, machinery, precious metals, luxury tourism, and so much more. Companies like Nestlé, Roche, UBS, Novartis, and Credit Suisse have found a home in Switzerland. According to the MSCI World Index, a stock market index comprising all of the companies from developed market economies globally, Switzerland enjoys the 4th largest number of large corporations globally, only behind the United States of America, the United Kingdom, and Japan. Number 3. Skilled workforce and exemplary attitude to work. With so many companies in Switzerland and its gigantic market size, it's a no-brainer that the country is filled with a lot of skilled workers. And this is true, although with a bit of a twist. The people of Switzerland aren't only skilled, they exhibit some of the highest levels of professionalism and are as transparent and trustworthy as their taxation system. The Swiss government prioritizes a competent workforce and consequently hones the skills of its population from a young age, as early as from the secondary education level. Here, academic education is equally important as vocational training. A recent study revealed that 70% of secondary school students in Switzerland enroll in the country's gold standard vocational training program, a program specifically designed to prepare kids for a softer landing into the workforce. More interestingly, despite investing so much into preparing its citizens, Switzerland invests even more into welcoming expats with proven expertise and experience in their fields. This explains why many people regard Switzerland as a land of unlimited opportunities for human capital. At least 1/3 of the total workforce in Switzerland are foreign nationals, and this figure continues to grow. Currently, Switzerland has an impressive unemployment rate of 1.9%, one of the lowest globally, a feat that is reflected in its solid economy. Now, let's talk about the stable and well-defined political system in Switzerland. Two things are fundamental here. One, the system's rigidity, and secondly, the internal competition between the various subdivisions, also called cantons. The rigid system makes it extremely difficult for a government to create and implement radical reforms without gaining massive political support or undergoing a rigorous approval process. So what this means is that things do not just change anyhow. Politicians cannot amend their policies when they feel like it, especially the tax and education system. To put this into perspective, as we mentioned earlier in this video, Switzerland has a VAT rate of 7.7%, which has remained the same for years. However, other European countries with flexible political systems have repeatedly increased their tax rates over the years. A perfect example is Germany. Until 1968, Germans paid 10% as VAT, but this rate has continually been reformed and is currently at 19%. The same applied to Spain with a 12% VAT in 1992, but now at 21% today. The list is endless, honestly, with several countries continuously increasing their tax burden. But the story isn't the same for Switzerland. 7.7% remains the same for several decades and doesn't look to change anytime soon thanks to the rigid political system in place. Secondly, the internal competition between cantons. Switzerland is subdivided into 26 cantons, each with significant fiscal powers. This forces them to compete with each other for citizens and businesses. And just like in the free market, this competition favours consumers. Organisations continue to get the best treatment from each division, citizens enjoy a good working environment to thrive, and so on. Without this fierce but healthy competition, who knows what might have happened to these businesses and the country's workforce? Perhaps close down and leave for greener pastures, as we have seen repeatedly happen across other European countries. Number 5. The high quality of life. Truly, there are several wealthy countries, but only a few are great places to live. One such place is Switzerland, ranking 3rd globally for the best quality of life, thanks to the multiple development opportunities available and the friendly labour laws that make it comfortable to work, live, and even operate a startup. Switzerland also offers an easy transition for expats and local workforce looking to retire. For example, if a foreigner wanted to retire in Switzerland, they are always advised to invest in properties worth at least $500,000. This also continues to bring more money into the country instead of taking it overseas. A transparent taxation system, several value-added industries, a skilled workforce, a stable political system, and a high quality of life are just some of the apparent reasons Switzerland is so rich today. But definitely, there is more. We call these the dark reasons that serve as the foundation for the thriving Switzerland we see today. So the big question is, what are they? Number 1. The Swiss banking secrecy. Switzerland boasts one of the best banking systems in the world, serving as home to leading international banks such as UBS and Credit Suisse, and contributing more than 10% to the country's GDP. Switzerland is filled with business ventures across various industries: insurance, stock, real estate, luxury items, and tourism, to mention a few. So yeah, where would all these corporations keep their revenues? Swiss banks, of course. Well, it looks more like a straightforward tunnel, but definitely there is more to it than what meets the eye. What truly sets Switzerland's financial sector apart from its superb banking secrecy? Let's take a trip down memory lane, far back into the post-war era. Shortly after the Holocaust, Switzerland revamped its banking system, forming legal secrecy policies. Of course, banks in many developed countries recognize and still recognize the confidentiality of their clients' data. However, none follow the legal secrecy policies like Switzerland. Beyond clients' transactions and private information, Swiss banks will keep all information confidential, including the existence of their bank account. No authority can look into people's funds or seize their assets, even if such a client was under investigation by their home country. That is how strong the banking secrecy in Switzerland is. These secrecy policies quickly made Swiss banks the favourite destination for several wealthy Europeans and Jews, especially those fleeing Nazi persecution. With more wealthy clients patronising Swiss banks over banks in other countries, Switzerland makes more money and has more money to circulate. It's a very simple strategy that has worked for several decades and continues to work in helping Switzerland become and continue being rich. Secondly, and lastly, there is the dark bit of Swiss history regarding the Nazi gold during the Second World War. Did Switzerland actually gain wealth from Nazi gold during the Holocaust? Let's run through what exactly happened in a minute. Switzerland is notoriously a war-neutral country and would never take sides during wars. This was the genesis of their wealth revolution, which seemed to have begun soon after the Second World War broke out. As a war-neutral region, Switzerland was free to trade with all the parties involved in the war in what we would later refer to as a master plan to bolster the economy over what was believed to be a moral standpoint during the war. Switzerland was all about the money and didn't care who was winning or losing the war. The Swiss National Bank acquired a lot of looted gold from the German government during the war and also served as a home for wealthy nations and individuals to deposit their reserves to protect it against impacts of the war. Switzerland also traded weapons and ammunition unrestrictedly, earning an insane amount of revenue from the trade. It was technically a monopoly market, so what else would you expect? Many years later, these bank accounts were forgotten, and safe to say abandoned, as most of the owners had died and governments had changed hands multiple times. This made it extremely hard for anyone to claim these monies and gold proceeds, leaving them all in the hands of the Swiss government. So the big question is, did all that wealth contribute to Switzerland's economic success? Well, the truth is this is a very controversial topic, with various people having different opinions. But where do you stand in all of this? Do you think this is the primary reason Switzerland is mega rich today? We'd love to know your thoughts in the comments section below. We have now come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to enjoy more videos like this. Bye for now, and see you in the next one.